on a Monday. How is everybody today? Oh gosh, I look at absolute fright. Mondays. It's me and Mondays, isn't it? Getting back after the weekend. I hope everyone had a great weekend and the sun is shining at your place like it is at ours. And a huge fingers crossed today for everyone in that Auckland lockdown region. So we hope that the news is good. Yes, things are good morning, everyone. You're all heading on in. So it's so good to see you coming in to see us this morning. I have got a few things to talk about. I got some knitting done over the weekend. I really did think I'd get my big, long-standing, snoozing work in progress finished over the weekend. But then I ended up having quite a social weekend, unexpectedly, and so it didn't quite get done because there was lots of catching up with people, and that's just it. I mean, I know I'm sorry for everyone who was in Auckland because you haven't had a chance to do that, but it has been doing loads of that. So it didn't quite happen, but I did actually bring it in. I remembered I grabbed it just as I was heading out the door this morning because it's in good old classic knitting basket. It has been sitting in this basket honestly since the last lockdown. This was my lockdown project from the last lockdown, and and then when the last lockdown ended, it just stalled. And I talked about this a bit on the Quarantine Diaries, and let me just unravel everything. I talked about this a bit on the Quarantine Diaries, and then it completely stalled, and it has been sitting in that basket by my knitting chair in the living room all this time, the thick end of close to a year. And then when this lockdown rolled round, I thought I was looking for something to knit, and I was doing shoji, which does require, I mean, it's very, very rhythmic because you're doing the same thing again and again, but I just really needed something totally brainless, which is what this is. And I thought, oh, I haven't done this for ages, and I picked it up. And I started knitting it. So there was one thing, if you watch the Quarantine Diaries, you will know this. So, of course, the one thing, having picked this up again, it is made using, so one of the things we wanted to do, and this is what we did after the last lockdown, the whole inspiration for this project was it was a stash buster. So it was using stuff from your stash, making sure that you got those scrappy bits that you had. So I dived into my stash, and believe me, you do not want to dive into my stash. It's a scary place. So I dived into my stash, and what I had was about 3 or 4 hanks of this Malabrigo, this beautiful purple Malabrigo. And I had lots of these unicorn skeins because I am a nightmare. Back when the world was normal, I was very fortunate, would travel a bit for this work job, but I also have another business with my husband, and that we traveled quite a bit for that business, had to. So when we traveled for that business, one of the things that I would obviously do is I'd find yarn stores, and I would end up buying all these quirky, interesting yarns primarily for ideas for back here. So I have this kind of weird yarn library / stash. So I have stash, which is stuff that I will buy stuff, and I'll group it together where it is like a garment lot. So I know it's enough to make something significant, whether it be a children's item or a decent accessory or a number of accessories or an adult garment or a little blanket, whatever. Then I have items, then you have these crazy little unicorn skeins. And some of them are skeins that just go, you look at them and they leap into your bag and say, buy me, because you love the color or the texture or the sparkle or whatever it is that sets the world apart. And then you have ones that, and this is what some of these are, that I had bought for ideas and inspiration for color for here. And then I also do a little bit of spinning, or we do samples. We have new product development playing and things that we do here and at the mill. So and there'll be certain things that may not make it into production, but I either like the color or the texture of the idea, and so I will keep a skein or 2 of that, and then the rest of it generally ends up out in the shop. So if you've ever visited our skein store and you wonder where all that crazy stuff ends up, this is out there is where it ends up. And we save it often for epic sale, or we're actually hoping to have another sort of big spring sale once the levels. We may even do it actually before, well, hopefully we're doing with the levels even out. Um, so that's how I ended up. So then I had the Malabrigo, so I had these 3 skeins of this, and it was really pretty, and I thought, well, it's not enough for a garment. And then I thought, well, actually, a poncho or a wrap, that makes it a garment, but I need to pad it out a little bit more. And I've done that poncho you've seen in Albertine. I've also done it in a big multi-stranded extravaganza inspired by Stephen B, a greenish one that you may have seen me wear, which is done using a Malabrigo raster, which is as the base yarn. So I had that, and I thought, and this is a pattern that I am eventually going to publish, eventually. I thought I actually just need to do this in a DK weight yarn and see what it looks like, because that's what most people will have and use. So then I had in my stash these 2, which are both from the same range and the same yarn company. That's them there. And they look super pretty, right? So bearing in mind that Malabrigo was my base. So they're all sort of these wonderful colored. Now these are acrylic. I know. I have acrylic yarn in my stash, shocker. But these were both Barocco. They're called Vintage, actually, is the range. And there is a little bit of wool in there. It's an acrylic, but it's acrylic predominant with a little bit of wool. But it's just got these wonderful, crazy colors. So I had those. But then I wanted to balance that out with a couple of other yarns. So I had this, and I had literally only one large skein of this, and this is homespun. This is very early homespun, which was made from a roving in a colour trial that Ian did. And some of you may remember our terabyte yarn from many, many years ago. And this was the yarn that was trialled for the terabyte in terms of the pattern printing. And he gave me the sliver to have a little play around with. And so I spun this from that sliver. So I just had one decent, I actually might have had 2 sort of skeins from a couple of bobbins worth of that. So I had that. But again, as you can see, it's sort of toned in. Then I wanted to add a little bit of texture. I'm sorry, I'm sitting here picking. I've got, as many of you know, I've got animals and my dogs are molting. So I'm picking off dog stuff forever. So I wanted to add a little bit of texture. So I had this mohair in stash. I can't even tell you what brand of, no, I don't even have the label. I can't even tell you what brand of mohair it is. I think it might be, no, can't tell you. It's been there for so long. I've got a sneaking suspicion it's something that I picked up and like it was given to me in a yarn swap or something like that. I don't even think I bought it because I only had one single ball. And again, it's in those tones. And this was the other yarn that I have. Now, some of you may recognize, you may have gotten something similar to this. These sort of wrap yarns, which are traditionally weaving yarns, we use these yarns we have often in the shop, dyed crazy random colors and monoprints and things like that. And a number of you have bought these for both weaving and knitting and playing around with. So if you're an online shopper, these may look a bit foreign to you. If you're an in-store shopper, they'll look familiar. And this is one of those. And we have what we call them gash hanks, which doesn't sound very attractive at all. But what a gash hank is these the hanks that go through when the spray tunnel is finished its print run for that batch. You have a little bit of dye left into in the system, and you need to flush that dye out. So the best way to flush that out is onto hanks, and so we have these random stray hanks that we put through. There's all sorts that go through, but they're all scrappy leftover bits, either underweight hanks, it could be damaged hanks, and quite often we use this. This is like a weaving yarn. and we'll have this stuff rolling around and we use this. So this one was actually a trial. They'd actually done a wrap and they'd put, can you see the gold thread that's through that? That's actually, it's not a lurex, but it's like a gold sort of acetate thread that was actually put through as a wrap yarn on this, and it's wool with this gold acetate. But I really just love the effect of the colour. It's a really good image of it. So I've been double stranding it back with that mohair, which then gives it a little bit more depth and a little bit more softness, because this is a weaving yarn. This is designed for woven upholstery, because we do these yarns. And so it's not really known for hand knitting, but you can do some really fun stuff with texture with it. So, and again, I literally only just had one each of everything. So not really enough to do a full garment, but play around and have some fun. So that's what I started doing. So this poncho, I wanted to test this poncho pattern out using the philosophy that I had with these different yarns, and that's what I've gone and created here. So I'm going to hold this up this way. And I also had a lurex that I started putting in as well with the Malabrigo, but I've stopped doing that because the lurex kept getting tangled and it just drove me crazy. So I've got lurex down one half, but not down the other. So that you can see, and the camera hates stripes usually as a rule, that's what you can see is the striping effect. And I've just gone and done a series of 2-on-2 stripes through the body here and stocking stitch. And then the bottom of the poncho has this garter stitch ribbing, and there is actually a little interesting fun piece of jiggery pokery to be able to create that, which is part of the beauty of the pattern. But as you can see, it sort of all the colors melt together to create something really interesting. So then through the body of the poncho, I've done the Malabrigo. So you will laugh because no surprises at where I finished last lockdown and where I started this lockdown. And before you say, Maree, you should have alternated your skeins between your two different skeins. No, that is all still the same skein. That shows you the fading of said skein. Because when this was sitting in my basket, this was sitting in my basket like this, outwards, and that is faded because that's how long it's been sitting there for. And you know what? I don't care. I really don't care. Because how it's worked out is that I didn't, oopsie, there we go, it's falling on the floor. Because it was so close to the halfway point. I'm going to find the halfway point in a second here for you because I did put a marker in. There it is. It was so close to the halfway point that I thought, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. So on one side of the poncho, it will look like that. And then when you flip it around on the other side of the poncho, it will be darker. So I thought, well, it's not really going to matter, is it? So where I am literally at now is I've only got, and this is, I'm going to hold this up, you'll see how close I am. I've literally only got, look at that much to go, because I have mirrored the striping exactly one side to the other, and I've only got that far to go, and I'm done. I'm done. So this is good. I am very excited about this. So this is super exciting. So then what I will be doing is two things I'm going to show you, just to show you that I haven't, people often carry stuff up at the sides and all the rest of it. But you know what? I haven't, because it drives me mad and you have 1,000,001 bits of yarn. So I have got the mother of all ends to weave in. But that's not the end of the world, because I'm going to be mattress stitching these stripes together. Look at that. So, and I will do a pretty reasonable, I mean, quite often when you do a mattress stitch, you'll go across half or one stitch and you'll mattress stitch from there. I may go 1.5 or even 2, which will give me a really, really sturdy hem. And that hem will have two values. One, it will actually help me tuck in and hide all those ends when I go to weave those in, because I'll weave them in after I've mattress stitched this up. But it will also give it a little bit of structure because obviously that hem will sit here, it will be carrying a little bit of weight. And actually, if you've got a good chunky hem, it will actually help hold the structure of the poncho coat well. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of weight hanging off here, so you want to have it holding. Then what I'm going to have, and I'll just hold these two together because that's where it's actually going to sit, is then I'm going to have a gap for the neck. I haven't quite decided. I'll probably do, somewhere in the vicinity of about there. I'll go in maybe one repeat to there. I may do it lesser there. I need to decide on that. I haven't decided on that yet. I'll probably do some pinning and test it out. And then I'm going to be picking up in the round to this neckline. In fact, I may even do that shorter neckline, to be honest. Yeah, I might do the shorter neckline. We'll see. Haven't decided. Haven't decided. Then I'm going to pick that up, and then I'm going to do a funnel rolled neck, which I do. So then you take what stocking stitch does, and it likes to roll. So I knit it up as stocking stitch, but I change and do a graduation of needle sizes. So I start with the needle size that I've been working with, and I'll work probably so much in that needle size. Then I'll go up another half size, bit more, another half size, bit more, and I'll do it probably 4 graduations up. And then that creates just this lovely natural funnel just done by increasing the sizes of your stitches. Because it's a feature like a collar, you don't have to worry about it stretching. It's not going to get a lot of friction for pilling. So using exaggerated stitch sizes in order to give you that is actually okay. It will gently roll over. It will look completely smooth. So there won't be, if you were doing it with increased stitches, you will sort of potentially see where those stitches have increased. So there will be none of that. And then I'll cast it off, and then it'll be done. So depending on how I go tonight, I might even get it finished tonight, or definitely in the next couple of days. And the sense of satisfaction, having completed probably my longest standing UFO, which I've had for a while, is actually quite nice. I'm really looking forward to it. What Jill is asking, see, you're asking what the pattern is, please. It's actually my design, Jill, and I am intending to write it up. It's actually a design that I've done based on a series of ratios. So I need to talk to Ethan actually about how I'm best to get that written up. So yeah, there is no pattern for that. It's all come out of here but inspired with a bit of this. But I've been promising to write this pattern up for about, when did I do the Albertine one? 4 years ago. It is, it is coming. But I'm trying to design it do it in such a way that it is the basic poncho pattern, a basic sort of poncho that you can do on any weight yarn on and needle size. So it's like a complete universal, pattern. So if you do it in this weight yarn, you'd cast on this number of stitches and use these needles, and and this is the grade weight of yarn, and this is the needles and the number of stitches, and this is roughly what you'll get. That's a plan anyway, which is why I need to talk to Ethan. So so fingers crossed that I will get that sorted. Oh, I'm sounding so husky. I had a meeting first thing. I have done nothing but talk since I've been in here since 8 o'clock this morning. And I am feeling, all very husky. Okay, so that is about to get finished, which is great because the next thing on the needles, I have obviously got shoji I'm still working on. I didn't bring that in. I'll probably work on that in the interim, or potentially, I have got the pattern of my husband's that I said that I was going to work on. I have now changed my mind. I'm still going to do the same pattern, but I've changed the yarn that I was going to use. I did have all an incognito yarn all wound up, ready to go. But, see, there goes the microphone, just fell over. Incognito yarn all ready to go that I was going to use. But I've now changed my mind because I've knit the Nanook and Kelly and Co, and I love it so much. Knitting with the Kelly and Co was such a joy that I have to knit with it again. My husband saw me knitting the Nanook and he just loved the look of the yarn. So I just need to, yes, I'm going to do one for him. And I'm probably going to go uh, the next color down. So I did mine in Remore, and I'm thinking I'm a bit torn actually. I'm the color that I for him that I it's just my natural instinct for him to do is oh gosh, I've gone and jumped into the wrong page. I'm just doing this now. Is I would naturally do Morn, which is this really dark green, which we've sold out on. It's one of the two colors which is still to come back. But I knitted him a sweater. It's sort of in a similar color in that when we had some of you may remember the big Aran balls that we had. They were British ones. They were British dark green heather, very similar to an Irish. Actually, they're very similar to an Irish heather, Celtic heather. And I've already done one for him in that color and in that sort of style. So I was thinking, well, I don't really need to do another one. So I'm sort of a bit torn. So I've done the Remore. McKenna's the other one I love, which is the darker, the next color down from the Remore. But of course, that's the other color we're waiting for. So then the next option is, do I sort of go a little bit off left field and do something completely different? I have to admit, I did think about the Sheridan, which is the dark blue, but I'm also thinking about the Abbott, which is the red, the really lovely rich red. And there was one, hopefully you'll hear someone too has knitted that Abbott and put it up in the speakeasy, and it is stunning. Looks so good, and he does look very good in red. He's got very dark features, so dark eyebrows and swarthy coloured skin, and always bald as a badger. He hasn't had these complete shaved head, but he can carry a strong colour. And I just think the Abbott, that would look really quite amazing. So I'm going to sort of waft it past him and see if he can can be convinced of that. And then that will probably be my sort of chug along summer project, along quietly with Shoji as well. But I'm buying time until 8th of October European time, which is 9th of October our time, because Ethan has convinced me that I need to be jumping on board, and I haven't done one for years, with the West Knits Mystery Knit Along shawlography. I haven't done West Knits Mystery Knit Along since the Doodler. So that was a long time ago. Doodler's what, 7 or 8 years ago. So I haven't done one since the Doodler. So I am thinking, no, I will do it. I know that many of you may have seen a number of the kits and things that people have been putting out. And so what it is if you've not done one of these before, you sign up and you get a clue every week and to knit in a section, but you have no idea what it's going to look like. In this particular year's iteration, it starts Friday, October 8th, which will be October 9th, our time, because of obviously the time difference. And you get a clue every week. So every Saturday, a clue will come out. He's very, very good at, if there's something difficult, I will say, bless Stephen, he's very good at a video tutorial. He's great at that. This year, it's a shawl. It's going to be a pretty decent size shawl because it's taking 5 skeins of fingering weight yarn in 5 different colors. Now, the total meterage per shade, so it sounds like he's gone and evenly weighted these around. So the total meterage per shade he is saying here, recommended yarn, use a plied or single ply yarn, and it would look really good with lots of different fingering weight yarn types. The new it will make a lovely lightweight fabric to knit along. Sport weight yarns might be too thick, but you get less yardage with sport weight, so that's why he's recommending fingering weight, which means in our parlance 4 ply. You need to have, of the 5 colours, 347 metres of all colours, and they are suggesting he does suggest keeping it relatively the colours relatively, it's one of these ones where it will work best if you've got either solid colors or if it is a color that isn't a solid, just a little bit of fleck or a little bit of speckle, nothing too OTT. So you could probably get away, even though this is a DK, but something that's sort of tonal but not too radical, is sort of the suggestions. So if you have got Sockmatician in the swatch, for example, Sockmatician edition would be fabulous for this. If you've got any of that Polworth Yak that we had in the Epic sale, those sort of Alaska collections, that would be really good for this. And I have gone and put together, and I sent a newsletter out last week, our new Mahana 4-ply, because our new Mahana 4-ply is done to a meterage which is exactly to an American fingering, which is a bit lighter than a classic New Zealand 4-ply. So a meterage on a New Zealand 4-ply is around 107, anywhere from 167 to 178 meters. So our Merino soft, for example, is 178 meters. So 2 Merino softs, so 347. So I haven't got a calculator, but so 170, 170. Well, that's 340. So it's two balls of Merino soft, 2 balls of Orb. I think the Orb Fine you could be good with as well, is another good option. I think Orb Fine is, I think Orb Fine's 170 odd. So, I think Orb Fine would be a lovely one actually for this, because we have done some monochromes in that range, and also too a number of dyes have taken Orb Fine and done hand dyes on those. So you may have a unicorn skein at home on those bases, and you want to do something in between. But he has said here, if you want to change around your textures in between, that's no problem either. Anyway, back to what I chose to do. I decided that I like the idea of a single texture all the way through for a project like this, and I'm going to work on color. And with the Mahana 4-ply, we have gone to that for 200 meters per 50 gram or 400 meters per 100 gram, which is that fingering weight which you normally see with a lot of North American patterns. So we've deliberately done it quite finer. We've done it for the reason because this Mahana is so beautiful, soft and lush. It's a lovely little 2-fold twist. There it is there. It is just gorgeous. And I've gone and chosen a color palette, which when you see it is very me. I know, shocker. Maree's chosen a very autumnal color palette. But it's, so for those that don't know me, I either do lots of really crazy bright colors, like insanely bright, or if I go, my idea of neutral is autumnal. So this is me going subtle. So anything that fits into this color palette. And I think it'll work quite well. I've made sure, the nice thing is the natural here will always provide contrast against any of those other 3. And then, so I think these are my light and dark contrasts. Those are my sort of mid-toned yarns there. And then that's my pop. So we'll see how it goes. 3.5 millimeter circular needle. Oh, this is interesting. Yes, 40. That's a long one. Yeah, and he's saying garter stitch swatch or a lazy swatch. So it sounds like there's going to be a lot of garter stitch and stuff in here, which is quite good. Hasn't said anything else about any other stitches. Now, if you've not done one of these knit-alongs before, one of the other things I can tell you about a West Knits knit-along is that he will often do these mystery knit-alongs. It's where he tests out a new idea, a new sort of color blocking or concept or an idea that he has. Then he will do it in the mystery knit-along, and then that concept he will then roll out into a series of designs, whether that be cowls or hats or other shawls or blankets or sweaters. So last time it was the star I want to, it was Star Flanket was the blanket that came after. I think it was Stargazer, the shawl. This it started with a shawl, and then he did the blanket, and then he will often go down off into little tangents. So the neat thing about the mystery knit along is you will get into this technique and this idea and this little sort of Alice in Wonderland um, insight that is the brain of Stephen West, creative brain of Stephen West. You'll go down it, and if it's something that you really love, when then subsequent designs come out, you then can actually create these other pieces, which will give you a coordinating strip travaganza. Thank you very much, Kathy. That's what it was called. So you will go down and and Starflake was the other one. That's right. And he just went down all these different tangents. And the beautiful thing is some you may love, some you may not, but that's it's neat. You know, you're able to sort of have a little bit of adventure and do that. So that is the next project. That is the next project. So it's nice to actually have all of these ready. Obviously, there's a couple of weeks before that gets started. So that gives me time to get the poncho finished, time to do a bit of shoji, maybe even get a sneaky cast on with the husband's project. And I can see it now. I'll get cast on with his project and then I'll get so excited about it. I'll just want to keep working on that and not do the shawl, which will be so naughty. But I can see it now. It's going to happen. So that's where we're going. That's what I'm looking at doing. How's everyone else's knitting going? I have seen freedom has been our theme in the Speak Easy, and it's been so neat to see everyone's projects. And I have to say, a number of you are like me. There has been a tremendous amount of finishing going on, lots of projects getting finished up, which is fabulous because it's great because you're able to do, new different stuff. Cheryl, so it's one ball each of 5 colors. It's 347 meters, he's saying here, of each color, which if you're using 50-gram balls like I am, it's 2 balls of each color. If you're doing 100-gram skeins of either an indie dyed yarn or something, I think Deb and Ethan launched the new Rebel colors on the weekend. It will be generally it's 1 skein of most 4-ply or fingering weight indie dyes. So 100 grams thereabouts, or 2 balls of what we've got. So in terms of what we've got, I'm doing the Mahana. So I definitely, and if you have a look at the last newsletter, I put a series of color selections up in there, along with an Orb Fine selection. And the other actually yarn I popped in there as well that I think this will work really, really well with is Sock Bandit. Particularly, we've got a couple, the Adventure Sprinkles left. You could actually do the Adventure Sprinkles with some of those Frolic jellies, with some of the jelly colours, and that would actually work really well. And again, that base is used by a number of indie dyes. I know Lynn Walsh uses it, and I think Sue Goodley's used it. So you could actually have a unicorn skein of one of those in your stash, and that would be a really nice one to do. So if you've got that very high twist 100% superwash merino yarn, that is the same base as Sock Bandit. That is so if you're looking for extras to go with that and build a kit around a unicorn yarn in your stash, you could do that with those yarns. I haven't figured out whether or not fluff would be good for this. If you're brave, you could probably have a lash with a little bit of fluff, but I can't comment on that. Sock Mortician, I think, will be absolute sitter. It will be beautiful in this. I do have another new yarn coming out, which is actually slightly finer again. It's 220. It's a Pearl Luster, and it's our new Pearl Luster shades, and the Pearl Luster shades specifically to go with the Whisper Fine shades. So if you love those Whisper Fine shades, these are the Pearl Lusters, and I think we may even had them for all the Whisper, and they are coming out in solid shades, and I've got them here already waiting for the photography. They are divine. The aria of the blue, honestly, the aria is so good. Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. That, I think, just quietly will be amazing in this shawl, because that beautiful Suri alpaca with a slight little bit of gloss, he's doing it in garter stitch, so you'll get this I think that would be amazing. I am actually sorely tempted to switch out the Mahana for that, but no, I'm gonna stick with the Mahana, I think. I might change my mind. Oh, wait, I'll see what you guys think. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I might have that pearl luster for you this time next week to show you. It is so pretty. It is so incredibly pretty. And that's about it really for us for news. Firstly, I want to apologise. We had a few people come over to see us on Saturday and we were, of course, closed. The Google, we did go and change everything on Google, and Google saw fit to turn around and change everything back on us for no unknown reason. We don't know why. So we've gone and changed all of that back. So hopefully, we're obviously still in level 2 here. We're just going to keep the reduced hours whilst we're in level 2. Do remember, if you are a local, that we do have local delivery, but we are only open Monday to Friday, 10 till 2. So if you have got something here and you just can't get across to see it, give us a yell on the old dog and bone, and we will let you know about the local delivery option, which is really economical, and we can just get it out to you. That's no problem at all. So just give us a holler and let us know. I will be back on Thursday, hopefully with a finished object to show you. And as I said, good luck to all our friends over in Auckland and in that Auckland region. The Auckland lockdown shipping is still live. And once we find out what's going on today, we may even extend it. You never know. But yes, we'll have our fingers and toes crossed for you today. So until then, have a great Monday, and I will talk to you again on Thursday. See you then. Bye.